the very front, one of the things we were wondering is why did the wall collapse? Why did this part of the room block in Plazuela fail when the rest is still standing? And we think the answer to that comes from what we learned from what Virgil and David showed us up at San Antonio and what Charlie showed us up at Moki. And that is that you can see these post holes. And these are where the strong logs were put in along the front wall of the more robust Alcalá structure. And, you know, if it was working, they never quite got around to replacing it with adobe, I think. And we can actually see in the ground penetrating radar this line of huge posts marching out along this way. And so potentially this room block, unlike the rest, was more of a composite structure with more like, you know, the fuertes in the front, plastered jacale, and all the way back where it made it to the adobe wall, back to the line I showed you back there. And the interesting thing is that you could see where people were trying to save it. There's cobbles and concrete kind of embedded in the wall where they were trying, and patches, and they were trying to save it, but where those junctions came together, especially as in later years when they were adding walls, windows and doors and things, it was really making that portion of the wall weak. I think that's what collapsed the wall there. And Manu Dexter remembers looking in the windows of the kind of abandoned room after it started to fail. And that story makes a lot of sense that, you know, at least a portion of the composite design came apart. And then finally, you know, where the wall stubs were at Palmita's house, were demolished to make way for this patio for what would become the library building. So, I mean, that's kind of the generalized story. And we also noticed in 1920, so there's a picture from the turn of the century that shows what was left of this Alcalá construction. But then in 1929, right here, another room appears suddenly. And in our ground penetrating radar, we actually have a prepared floor surface all under here, nicely leveled out. Shows up with a really clear signal, but then again, it's only been here for 80 years, so it's relatively young. And I don't know what the library wants to do, but potentially they could add that as another room, a third room onto this room block. And that's kind of what our team was looking for up here, where you see these changes in color and stone foundation, potentially rocks. We're not sure what was going on right here, but this would be the farthest margin of that prepared surface that we were finding in the ground penetrating radar, and we were hoping to define that a little bit up here. But because of the adobe melt, because of the restructuring and repurposing of the patio, this becomes a very confusing space for us, and I would say that our best bet is to just stick with what the ground penetrating radar says over here and stick with the very obvious post construction that make up the front end of the original 1700s Plazuela. And that's pretty much all I have to tell you about that.
Okay, my name is Dominic Reyes, and the archaeologist dig was pretty fun, and it's hard to keep it leveled because you had to, because if you found some stuff like in the same place, then you would have to dig it around that area.
Y luego pues yo me presto para que me investigue el concilio en cuanto a lo que esta gente han hallado y cómo les podemos ayudar a hacer su trabajo y a la misma vez representar los intereses de la biblioteca y asegurar que el acuerdo que tenemos entre el pueblo y la biblioteca se consuma y que se consuma bien.